Let me now introduce to you Professor Stuart White, who is the Director of the Institute for Sustainable Futures.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Deborah, and thanks so much to all of you for your attention. I realise I'm standing between all of you and drinks and refreshments, so I'll keep my concluding remarks fairly brief. But I was conscious of the fact that when we were listening to the speakers that I think we had exactly the right speakers in exactly the right order. And I was listening to Tim opening the batting, introducing the concept of the digital disruption, but also recognising that we need to move beyond the rhetoric. We need to actually develop complementary measures, otherwise we're not going to reap the benefits associated with that disruption. And Martin saw that and raised it, and we heard from him that the policymakers need to look out the window and actually see what's actually happening, what's happening out there in the world. And also I was taken by his comments, and of course from his background it's no surprise that he'd be picking up on city governance, on new ways of engaging communities, new ways of decision making. And then we heard from Brad, obviously, who's living the dream of developing new business models, and we're pleased as ISF to be a member of the Melbourne Hub, which is very useful for us to have a Melbourne address and meeting place. And this is actually a key infrastructure for the 21st century of a change in work and the way to guarantee productivity. And then Sam as well, with a very practical, real application from somebody at the, essentially at the coalface of having to look for this disruption that's occurring, a massive disruption. It certainly was news to me in terms of the significance of it, in terms of the change in the workplace, and how can these creative solutions, the regional shopping centres, enlivening those regional spaces, hopefully improving the active transport and the public transport options at the same time, so it actually can be a multiple solutions, and that these associated services are absolutely key. I noticed a tweet that somebody had there earlier that coffee shops part of the office of the future, and certainly I think there's certainly a lesson there, and that's certainly what we experience with the hub itself. So I think a really rewarding outcome, and obviously to those who have watched it from a distance, I hope it's been equally useful. I just want to briefly comment about how this fits into the Institute's research. I mean, we've obviously part of, and this forum indeed is part of the Sustainable Digital Cities Network, and we're looking at using our networks of academia, policy, industry and civil society to put together a research consortium to investigate the opportunities that are afforded by the things we've heard about today. And some of the key themes for that research: the future of the smart work centres that we've heard about, quantifying the opportunity so that this can move beyond anecdote and estimates to actually looking at how to align jobs, sectors and locations. And this of course fits with the work of UTS in the creative digital space, and saying what is happening here, and what are the future benefits of that, and how can we quantify those so that policymakers can move beyond their DNA resistance that we've heard about. What are the enablers? What can best practice tenancy models, planning provisions, what can we do as policymakers and planners, the impacts, and we're particularly obviously interested in the urban form and transportation impacts, and the policy options and what can be done there. So if you're interested in contributing to that, please contact Damien. You'll see Damien shortly when he's issuing gifts to our speakers, and also Karen Wilmot, who's been also a force behind tonight's work. So just to now a word of thanks, and there's a few thanks to make. Our sponsors in particular, you've seen evidence of them and logos and so on, but particularly the Department of Broadband Communications, the Digital Economy. We're really pleased to have Barbara Lapani here tonight from the department. Cisco, obviously, and great to have Martin here and hear from him. Third Spaces, Brad, thank you. The GPT Group and its new acquisition, Liquid Space, and thank you, Sam, for ably representing that group. So thank you certainly to our sponsors, if we could put our hands together for their support. And we'd really like you to get involved. Tweets are great, but we'd really like you to get involved in some of the discussions, to actually participate in some of the research, or if you have a research idea or would like to support such research. There's an event website which has contact details. Many of you will have seen that. There's a LinkedIn conversation that you can participate in. There's a big bowl outside with a very old-fashioned method. You can put your business card in there. That's a hard copy business card. It looks like this. If you put that in there, and then it's in the drinks room actually, and you'll be included on a mailing list, and we'll let you know about future events. And also just another plug to look out for National Telework Week later this year, which will be an important event on the calendar. So lastly, I'd like to thank our speakers. I'll actually invite Damien up to do the honours with the liquid refreshments. These are not for tonight, these are for later. You can take them home.
That might be for
so we'd like to very much thank you for your contribution. As I said, I'm sure you didn't have the time to compare notes, but it really hung together well, and I'm really pleased with that. And thanks so much to Deborah for fielding that energetic and lively discussion.
Thanks very much. Cheers. Thanks very much, Damien. That's lovely. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Cheers. No worries.
I just hope our lips were in sync.
Thank you very much indeed.
Definitely. I was observing that.
Digital wine is not as good as this.
It wasn't dubbed. And finally, I'd like to these things don't happen by accident, and they certainly don't happen without a lot of work behind the scenes. And I'd like to obviously thank Damien and Karen Wilmot, and they'll be outside for you to talk about in relation to the next steps in the Sydney Digital Cities Network itself. But I'd also then like to thank particularly Simona Galimberti. You've seen her taking photos, but she's done a lot more than that. She's actually been the powerhouse behind organising a lot of this. And also a big thanks or a shout out to Daryl Manning for the IT and systems support and website. He's put an enormous amount of effort into it, so thanks so much, Daryl. And I'd like to lastly thank you for coming and for participating in these busy times that we have. We really appreciate that. And as a partial reward, I'd like to invite you to move out and into the balcony room for some drinks and refreshments. So thanks again, and travel safely.
Thank you.
Thank you.